Hey everyone, Mike Green,
Sean Degnan.
OCR Nerds. Today we're here to talk about one of the topics pertaining to the ultra distance races, whether it's an obstacle race or just any ultra race. And we're talking about what's called the transition area or the drop-in area.
Okay, the big thing about the transition area, drop-in area, there's really three things that you want to have in that area. It's fuel, hydration, and perhaps gear. All right, so you'll have some type of fuel, some kind of food, or some kind of energy drink, perhaps. You'll want to have some kind of hydration, perhaps, depending on depending on the weather, depending on how supported the race is. I mean, if there's a lot of water stations, then maybe you won't need your own hydration. And then perhaps some gear, whether it be change of clothing or shoes, just to be sure that you can keep moving on.
Mm-hmm. I get cold really easily during like the longer races and whatnot, so I make sure I always have like an extra set of cold gear, Under Armour, inside of my 5-gallon bucket, which I'm going to explain really quick. So basically, what's most commonly seen at these races are the 5-gallon buckets, right? Basic ones, they you can get them with a lid on them. You put your gear in here. You can get these at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, what have you. They're not too expensive. They're about $3.99 with the lid.
Yep.
So yeah, this is what you would usually normally keep your gear in, or food and whatnot. I have my Under Armour right here. Some key tactics though when we're doing this that I want to get into. So when you're at the transition area, right? A simple and really smart technique for transitioning, because the number one thing is you don't want to be there even if you're ahead of your pace and you're making good timing. Don't stay there for like more than 10 minutes, right? So you can literally just take a preloaded hydration pack with your fuel in it, your goos or your gels or your Cliff Bars, another bladder, have that ready to go. Get to your transition area, take your shirt off, put a new top on, grab your hydration pack right out of this thing, boom, and just go.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, I'll be racing on the longer event ones. I'll be racing with a hydration pack, but I'll have an identically packed one right in my drop-in. Take the old one off, put the new one on.
Right.
Grab a snack and just head right out. Mm-hmm. Just got to keep moving. That's the key, because that's where a lot of people DNF is at the transition area.
Yeah, and you're gonna get to the transition area, especially if this is your first time. You've never seen anything like that. The night before the race, whatever, you're gonna drop this off at a certain location. One thing, markings. Make sure you get something on your bucket, because like I said, these are very common. So you might see it. You're going to probably see, actually I can guarantee you're going to see a ton of orange Home Depot buckets. Probably see a lot of Lowe's buckets. You're going to see a ton of white ones. So do something that's going to represent it and make it yours, and try to remember where you put it. So you get to that transition area, boom, you know where your bucket is. You know what to do. Rehearse this right the night before, the week before, so you know exactly how you're going to react when you get there.
All right, something that can make your bucket really stand out is if you can take a garden stake or something and put some kind of flag so it stays up, so you have some kind of signal up high, or even perhaps even better, tie a Mylar balloon, hang it from the handle so it's floating up, so you know exactly where. Look for your balloon. You know exactly where you're going to find that bucket. Again, you want to spend as little time as possible in the transition area, so if you know exactly where your bin is, you can get to it, get your gear, and get right back out.
Right. If you get there and the transition area is packed, people are near your stuff, whatever, you're trying to find it, just be polite, excuse me, sorry coming through, whatnot, just have some manners, don't just plow through everyone and start moving everyone's stuff around. I had that happen to me on one ultra where someone completely just moved my stuff to like a separate location with other people's. That I was like, okay, where's my stuff? And I had to go find it, so not cool.
No, not cool at all. Not cool at all. Remember, you're all fighting the same opponent, that race course. So don't be sandbagging your fellow competitors.
Yep. What do you want to say here?
So, as Mike had said, okay, you want to make sure that you want to be loaded out and you know exactly what to do. You want to rehearse it. as with, I'm sure you've heard this many times before, you don't want to try anything new on race day. So make sure it's something you've rehearsed. You know exactly what you're grabbing. That's why I like to have 2 identical hydration packs. I know exactly how it fits. I know exactly how it's going to wear and how comfortable it's going to be. Any nutritional things, whether it be a sandwich, pickles, whatever, make sure that that's going to work for your stomach. Because I can't tell you how many people have said, "Oh, I want to try this thing that other racers said they liked on race day," and
10 minutes
and they're
before the start,
vomiting, and they're vomiting 10 minutes into their second lap.
The other thing too is, if you don't have a second hydration pack, just get a water bladder, right? And you can just have a full water bladder ready to go. Put it in your hydration pack, swap it, and just get out of there. You don't want to be laying down resting at the transition area. A couple questions I've gotten though from people were about shoes and socks, right? And I did this on my first ultra, and I'm probably never ever going to do it again. Where you get to a transition area, I changed my top, and I got my stuff, my hydration ready, my Camelback was good and everything like that. And then I spent like 10 minutes, maybe more, trying to get off my shoes and my muddy running socks. I have a knee-high compression that I wore, and it just took way too much time. By the time I got the new stuff on and went, and I think 20 minutes in, I was soaking wet anyway and muddy, and it just, I think it's a time waste. Yeah,
it's not worth it. Frankly,
for
most people, it's not worth it. Now, you certainly want to maybe have an extra pair just in case you blow a tire on that course.
Right.
I've had that happen before, but most of the time you're not going to want to change because, like Mike said, a few minutes later you're just going to get wet anyway, so it really doesn't pay. And well, anybody who's done any of these races know that one of the toughest obstacles after a race is taking off compression gear, especially the socks. So
the next thing is relaxing at the transition area. People are like, oh, sometimes I'm cramping up and this and that, and you see people foam rolling and whatnot. That's not a bad idea if you're really that cramped up and tight and you have to do it. I mean, bring one of those small rollers with you. You can just go across your calves, in your quads and whatnot. That's not a bad idea, but just don't sit there doing it for 20 minutes, right? Don't hit every single part of your body and give yourself a full massage. Just get your muscle knots out or whatever it is you got to do, feel better. But that goes into, again, race hydration. Make sure you're taking in a lot of water with electrolytes. Because that's what's going to help you, not cramp, right?
And the other thing is, and then along with that, remember, you're training for this event. Right? Most of the time, cramps are going to come from not being trained for the conditions you're in. Right. So if you're going to be on a course, it's going to be up and down a mountain. Make sure you're doing climbing. Make sure you're going up and down hills. Make sure you're hitting that Stairmaster. Make sure you're replicating race conditions in your training as best you can.
Another thing too, considering he brings up race conditions, the weather. Look at the weather that whole week, and study the night before, and know what you're going into, because you don't want to pack clothing. I mean, I guess you can pack for every single season that you want, but if you're starting off a race in the morning where it's going to be pretty cold, and then you're coming around that transition area, like 12 or 11:30 a.m. and it went from being cold to jumping up 20 degrees, and now it's pretty warm. Make sure you have some sort of heat gear or something, that type of compression that you can get into, so you're not just changing into another set of what you had on before.
Yeah, that could be, and that could definitely be something we can discuss in a later video to talk about. Okay, what specifically should you wear for cold weather races, for warm weather races, etc. We can certainly cover that in a later topic, but that's kind of going away from what we want to focus on drop-in itself.
Right.
One thing I do want to talk about though here is the way the Spartan does their ultra versus some of our other events, such as the Fit Challenge Ultra. Spartan Ultra, you're going to be doing a 13 to 16 mile loop on your first lap, and then you're going to come into the transition, and you're going to head back out for another 13 to 14 mile loop. You're going to be out on course for a long time. So when you take your gear, you want your hydration pack loaded out to be able to make sure that you can do the distance and the time for both your first and for your second lap. On a course like Fit Challenge, on a course like Toughest Mudder, let's hope that everything goes well with that,
Okay.
you're on a 3 to 6 mile course, you're going to be hitting that transition area multiple times throughout the day. You're not going to need to carry as much within each lap. So something like these, something like a hydration belt with the small bottles, or a couple of soft bottles like this might be a better bet. The less weight you're carrying, the better you're going to be able to perform while you're running actually out on the course.
Yep.
All right, I think that hit all the high points of this topic.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Mike?
No, just stay tuned, because we're going to be going over a lot of this now that the Ultra is only a few months away. We're going to be doing a lot more videos based on preparing and prepping for these Ultras in regards to clothing, nutrition, and whatnot. But this is definitely an important topic, and something you definitely want to realize that you don't want to be wasting a ton of time at this transition area. Another key feature we went over today was make sure you know where your bucket is, and you have some way to mark your bucket where you're going to be able to find it quickly, and that you're going to be so organized that you're going to be able to get your stuff, get it on, and just go.
All right, if there's any specific questions on the drop-in/transition area, please sure to leave a comment below. And if you love our content, make sure you subscribe below and share this with your fellow racers.
Right.
All right, so we'll be signing out.
See ya.